first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling the cops after my half-brother took my car while I was having dinner with family? I, 23 female, have always been civil with my 19 male half-brother. We were close as kids, but he started to have an attitude at 13 and pretty much stopped being nice and started messing with my things, / making fun of me and doing pranks to annoy me, / privacy was gone with him coming into my room and taking my things. Whenever I complained, my stepmom would normalize his behavior and make excuses. My dad never really grounded him and thought that talking to him will get him to behave better. I'm currently in college. I live in a rented apartment and have a car to help me get to the university or other places. The car isn't expensive or fancy at all. I saved up for it 2 years ago. I decided to have Christmas dinner with my family. It's the perfect opportunity to be with my family since I haven't seen my dad in a while. I arrived at my dad's house and left my purse and my keys on the kitchen island after my stepmom told me to help with dinner. My half-brother started talking about my car in the kitchen while my stepmom was listening and asked if he could take it for a couple of hours to hang out with friends. I politely told him no. He threw a fit and brought up how I needed to relax and not worry, but my answer was still the same. While we were sitting at the dinner table, my half-brother got up, washed his hands, and I thought he went outside. I got busy talking to my dad, and after I got up to wash my hands, I noticed my car keys weren't there. I went outside to ask him, and neither he nor my car were there. I lost it. I started calling his phone, but he hung up on me several times. I was furious. I told my dad I'd call the police if he didn't come back with the car. My stepmom jumped to defend him and said I was being unreasonable to call the police. I called him one last time, then I called the police. My stepmom freaked out when my half-brother got picked up by the police. She told me to go explain the situation to the authorities, otherwise he'd spend the night in jail. But I refused, especially since I still hadn't got my car back. Stepmom yelled that I ruined dinner and that it was no big deal. He was going to return it after borrowing it from me, but he didn't really borrow it, and she heard me say no. I don't know what she told the police, but I didn't give permission to use the car. My stepmom's side of family are mad at me for doing this to my brother and hinted that I don't consider him family. My dad's side of family sided with me, saying he deserved it. My dad said I overreacted and I shouldn't have called the police when he disappeared for 4 hours. Edit. He did not borrow it, but my stepmom said I let him borrow it, which is not true. Edit. Just to clarify, I talked to the police about what happened, and I learned later that my stepmom said that her son was allowed to borrow it and that it was a misunderstanding. I wasn't going to let her continue to lie, but my dad told me to back off and let it go. This really upset me. My half-brother wasn't even berated the way I was by the family. Not the a-hole. He borrowed your car. You borrowed his free time for the night. Fair trade. Exactly. I'm pretty much certain that he did not borrow it. For her to lie and say I let him borrow it and only call the cops because he wasn't picking up the phone isn't acceptable. She bad-mouthed me to her entire family and they all berated me based on the story she told. See, I'm the type of person who, if I ever posted a question here, knows I would be the a-hole, and I'm okay with that. So take anything I say with a grain of salt. I would be vindictive and post a meme somewhere that the family will see it, that basically followed the theme of, what the rest of the world calls stealing, my family calls borrowing. Make it pretty clear what actually happened. Jeez. Not the a-hole at all. How can anyone consider it an overreaction? He literally stole your car after you told him you didn't want him to use it. Why didn't your parent/step-parent offer to let him use their car? This should be a moment to show him about responsibility and accountability, not to blame you for standing your ground. Your dad is really letting you down. Simply ask how it'd feel in a similar situation. My stepmom thought I ruined the night and overreacted because he just borrowed a car from me, even though I told him no right in front of her. My dad is indeed letting me down by how he reacted in this situation. All I wanted was to have a peaceful dinner with family, but my half-brother was being stubborn. Not the a-hole. He broke the law and got his karma. What would have happened if he got pulled over? What would have happened if he was speeding and caused a crash? He now has a criminal record that he earned himself. If anything, it's his parents' fault for not raising him to respect you and your boundaries. There's no talking to him, so he behaves better in that situation. Stand your ground on this, OP, and if it's such an issue for your father, then make it such an issue for you. Good luck. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for pressing charges against a family member? So, I went over to my aunt's house on Christmas Eve because she told me she had a gift for me. I'm pretty estranged from my family, but stopped over to say hello anyways and accept the gift. She urged me to stay for coffee and talk with her. My 18-year-old cousin was also there. Well, we get to drinking coffee. And of course, coffee makes me pee, so I excused myself to the bathroom and my dumb self leaves my purse on the kitchen counter. I hear someone go outside, and then some keys jangling and zippers opening from the kitchen, but I think nothing of it. I thank my aunt and leave. On Christmas morning, I got a fraud alert text from my credit card user that someone made around $800 worth of purchases. Of course, I text back, "No, this wasn't me," and begin panicking and trying to retrace my steps. I realized that I've been working from home for the last several weeks, and the only time I actually went out anywhere was to my aunt's house the other day. I look up where the transactions were coming from and had a hunch that it was my cousin who had taken copies of my card while I was in the bathroom at her house. Well, I called the cops, and now she's in a lot of trouble. I phoned my aunt and told her what had happened, and she didn't believe me until my cousin freaking admitted to doing it and began crying and hyperventilating that she'd pay me back as soon as she'd get a job. I began screaming at her that what she did was a federal crime and that she's going to prison. And why the hell did she do what she did, thinking she wouldn't get caught? She hung up after that and never knew what my aunt's initial reaction was after my cousin admitted to doing it. Until this morning. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb for the night and received over 40 calls and text messages from my aunt, uncle, and cousin, pleading me to drop the charges because I'll ruin my cousin's life and she realizes what she did was wrong. I texted back to my aunt, "I don't care if it ruins her life. She literally committed credit card fraud and deserves to be punished. She's 18 now. She's an adult. And you are a very cold and rude person. No wonder your parents want nothing to do with you. You don't even want to take care of them. Your cousin said she was sorry, and she's applying for jobs, and we can figure something out for her to pay you on an installment plan. Me, I'll consider dropping charges if you pay the $800 to me in full by Friday. And no, that's not how that works. Me? Okay, well then I'm not dropping the charges. And okay, well then you don't have a family anymore. I want you to return the gift I got for you. And I'm calling your parents to tell them what happened." Lol, okay, call my parents. I'm 27. Am I the a-hole for pressing charges against my cousin and then refusing to consider dropping them when my aunt wouldn't compromise? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They literally stole from you. Actions have consequences. Are you on the hook for that money, or did the card company let it go? And no, that's not how that works. OP, tell that to the judge. And surprised Pikachu. Not the a-hole. You did everything right. Your family, on the other hand, all of them suck here. If it was a total stranger, no one would be upset at you for calling the cops. No one. Lesson learned for your cousin? Don't be a thief. If you back down, they will do it again. 100% it isn't the first time they did it either. Families who downplay, try to find ways for the family members to weasel out of repercussions are enablers. Your cousin will never learn if they don't have consequences for their actions. Your aunt raised a terrible child, but she's now an adult and 100% knew it was wrong. Your aunt is the a-hole along with your uncle and cousin, are manipulators, enablers, and gigantic a-holes. You are better off without those people for family. Run, hun, run. They're not family. You are 100% in the right. Hold your head high. You were robbed. You are the victim here. Don't let them talk you out of this. And hon, dear God, I'm so sorry that your own family's doing this to you. You don't deserve this at all, especially at Christmas time. Maybe I'm being cynical here, but OP, not the a-hole, is largely estranged from their family. And then out of the blue, auntie calls them with a gift. And during that time, cousin commits a crime. Aunt sounds more than an enabler. She sounds complicit to me. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for not reimbursing my brother for an air mattress? This happened around Thanksgiving, but I'm still getting crap about it from my family. I'm a 27-year-old woman who lives in a one-bedroom apartment by myself. My brother, 24, and his significant other, 22, have lived on the opposite side of the country, US, for a few years, and decided to fly over to see their respective families, both of whom live around the same area. Neither my brother nor his girlfriend felt comfortable staying with their parents due to COVID, so I offered them my apartment while I stayed with my significant other for the week. Everyone was happy with this arrangement. We never talked about it specifically before they arrived, so I just assumed that they would sleep in my queen-sized bed. I have a couple of couches in the living area, and while they are comfortable enough, they aren't designed to be sofa beds. The morning they arrived, I cleaned the apartment and changed the bedding. When they got to my apartment, my brother asked where they should sleep, and I indicated a bed. He sort of laughed at first, and then realized I was serious and got really angry. His girlfriend didn't say much, but looked mortified. My brother kept saying that there was no way they were sleeping in my bed, and it was disgusting for me to offer. I told him that everything was clean, and reminded him that they'd have the apartment to themselves. He just kept saying he couldn't believe it, and finally snapped that they'd have to make do with the couch. I left quickly without further discussion because I was confused and pretty upset. That night, my brother called me and said the couches were impossible to sleep on. He said that he and his girlfriend needed to purchase an air mattress and requested that I reimburse him the $55 they paid for it. By now, I was really pissed off and refused. I asked him again why they didn't just take the bed, and he said that, if I really had to ask, I have major issues. I said that I didn't care what they did or did not do in bed. We are all adults and should act accordingly. He called me disgusting again and hung up. My parents found out and agreed that I should pay for the air mattress because I wasn't adequately prepared for their arrival. My mother specifically keeps insinuating that what I did was gross and unfair, and I should have known better. My brother has let it be known that our relationship won't go back to normal until I apologize and reimburse him and his girlfriend. I know my family can be kind of weird and uptight, so I asked my significant other and some friends for their perspective. My boyfriend says he can see both sides, and my friends are basically siding with my parents and brother, saying that it would be inappropriate for me to sleep in the same bed that my brother and his girlfriend previously shared. Edit. A lot of people are asking if we belong to some weird culture where siblings aren't able to share beds. We do not, and my family has never been religious anyway, but as I stated in my post, they are really uptight. Like, we learned about the birds and bees, but sex was always presented as something unpleasant and nasty. My brother and I never discussed each other's sexuality/intimate lives, which in my opinion is normal. But it's pretty clear he has some major hang-ups. My boyfriend is a lot more open about the topic, but he's also very attuned to when people feel uncomfortable, and says that even though he disagrees with their reasoning, he can understand why they might not want to sleep in my bed. He thinks I should just pay the $55 to keep the peace. My friends, no idea. Lol. 100% not a-hole. Have they ever slept in a hotel? Because I guarantee that bed is a hell of a lot more gross than yours. No. See, it's okay if strangers have boinked in the bed they're sleeping in, but if it's his sister, then that's practically incest. Not a-hole. What on earth? Tell him he can go spend $55 a night on a freaking hotel next time. Not the a-hole. Where he can sleep on an untouched, virgin mattress instead of Opie's filthy, used one. Jesus Christ, what a ridiculous man. Not the a-hole. It's ridiculous on your brother's part. They could have stayed in a hotel. Or are hotels also off limits for them because stuff could have occurred on those beds before them? Yes, I would agree that hotel beds have seen their share of action, but if they wouldn't stay in a hotel either, for the same reason, that would pretty much prove that the problem is theirs and they have hang-ups. They were planning to pay for a hotel until I offered my apartment. They've definitely stayed in hotels before. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for being a Karen by arguing a store's ID policy? I, a 41-year-old man, went grocery shopping with my daughter, 14, yesterday. This was mainly to pick up food, but I also wanted to pick up some spirits and champagne for New Year's Eve. At the checkout, they asked for ID. This was odd because they have a challenge 25 policy in the UK, and I look far older than 25. As I got my license out, the checkout assistant said, "Not your ID, sir, but hers," in reference to my daughter. I was surprised and said she's 14. I'm her dad, and this is just family shopping. Still, the checkout person refused to make the sale because my daughter was underage. At this point, I asked to speak to her manager because I figured she might be new and probably erring on the side of caution. She looked very young herself, probably still in school, so I figured she didn't want to take any risks, but a manager would probably know better. However, even her supervisor reiterated they couldn't sell me the alcohol without my daughter having proof of being over 18. I asked how would she have proof? She's 14 and I'm her father. I also said how this has never been a problem before, at this store or any other. Hell, I'd come to the same supermarkets with my daughter and wife and bought beer or wine before without being asked for everyone's ID. At this point, the manager looked at my things and also said he wouldn't be able to scan the scissors as they were also an age-restricted item. I won't lie, this pissed me right off. So I said to the manager, "Your policy is insane and lacks any common sense, and this store is a joke." I walked off with my daughter, and when I got home, I wrote an email to their head office because I genuinely do think that it's a silly policy. Throughout all this, my daughter is mortified, saying that I shouldn't have asked for the manager, that the girl was only doing her job. She also said that it was a policy, so I was in the wrong. I disagree, and think some degree of common sense should be used in these situations. Now for some top comments. Not at a-hole, that's insane. I worked at a Tesco when I was at uni and challenge 25 was always for individuals, or a group of people who looked 25 or under, in which case you had to ID every member of the group to make sure they were older than 18. We were always told to show discretion when it was a parent and child, or a family, because of course many parents will buy alcohol for their own personal use while having their underage children with them in the store. That shop's policy is very silly indeed. This policy is absolutely nonsense. Many parents take their kids to shop to help with the shopping, and refusing to sell alcoholic products to an adult because of their child is so? I get that some teenagers take 18+ friends with them just so they can get the alcohol with no trouble, but this policy doesn't seem to be helping with this type of case at all. Not at a-hole. That's a dramatic misinterpretation of store policy, and adding in the scissors was just to mess with you because you complained. I'd actually address this with corporate. The cashier's position may have been reasonable, in that if they didn't completely understand the policy, they were trying to err on the side of keeping their job. But the manager absolutely should know better, and if they don't, they need to be educated. Not selling the scissors make this a power move on their behalf. Manager trying to feel like he's got big boy shoes on and can control people. What a ridiculous rule. I sincerely hope head office comes back with a proper apology. Otherwise, please name and shame the store. Not at a-hole. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe. Update. My wife admitted to poking holes in my condoms. Original post. I have no one to talk to about this. I just want to type it out to make more sense of it. My wife, Pam, and I are both 35. We met back in college and have been married for 6 years. Even when we were just good friends, I was always vocal about my indifference to children. I wanted to focus on my career and figure myself out before I even thought about bringing a human into this world. Pam was aware of this when we started dating, but she was slowly starting to get me to ease into the idea of kids. I knew our values were different, and it's my fault for continuing things, but I loved her so much. She is my best friend, and she helped me out of the worst period of my life. About 2 years into our marriage, Pam became pregnant from what I believe to be a freak accident. Obviously, I didn't leave or get mad at her, just wanted to preface that. I took care of her and supported her throughout the entire pregnancy. Pam gave birth to my twin baby girls. They are my world, plain and simple. I feel sad and alone even after just a little work trip without them. Pam became a stay-at-home mother, something I was completely fine with. Recently, Pam became pregnant again, intentionally this time, and she was starting to become distant and had a look of shame whenever I tried to talk or be intimate with her. I have been trying to be the best husband possible, but she always insisted she was fine and tried to distract me by talking about our girls. I came home from work to find Pam slouched over crying in our bed. Our daughters were spending the night with my sister, so we were alone. When I came over to comfort her, she started sobbing about how sorry she was. After I consoled her enough to speak, she explained that she had poked holes in my condoms when we had sex when she first got pregnant with our baby girls. She didn't try to justify herself, just went on about how she was a piece of trash and it deserved me, the girls or the baby. She was practically hyperventilating. I consoled her for the sake of the baby, but I was, and still am, angry. I've been sleeping in a guest room. I know that this is technically sexual assault, but I hate the idea of only seeing my daughters and baby half the time. Pam hasn't left our room since. I have to make her dinner after work. She looks so broken, saying that she'll move out if that's what I want. She's pregnant, so obviously I don't, but I'm still incredibly mad and sad. I still love her. I've known her for a decade and a half. She's been nothing but loving and supportive, and until now, very transparent with me. I just wanted to type this out to make sure my feelings, which I know are justified, are truly justified. My little girls have been the only reason I'm not breaking down and sobbing. I know I'm weak for thinking about forgetting about this. I'm still thinking about divorcing my wife after the baby's born, but I would still want her to live with me. I know, pathetic. I'm taking the next few days off work. Now for the top comments before reading the update. There's absolutely nothing pathetic about being hurt by and still wanting someone you love. People do stupid, horrible things, especially when they're hyper-focused. It sounds like your wife has issues with her betrayal, and she's attempting to take ownership of what she's done. Before you divorce her, think about if that's what you want. Don't worry about what you think others would expect you to do. If you are willing to forgive her and give her the opportunity to earn your trust back, then that's what you should do. It sounds like you're rightfully pissed off, but it also sounds like you're more concerned with your family and keeping them together. If that's ultimately what you want and you can live with it, then that's what you should do. If you know you can't get past it, then make the necessary changes for what you're able to accept. If it's divorce, it's divorce. My point here is that you don't have to leave because you believe that's what is expected or what you should do. If you leave, make it because it's what you actually want. Also, give it some time before you make a decision. You don't want to decide your future when you feel angry, hurt, and betrayed. I really hope things work out for you. I wish you the best. Thank you for the take based on reality. It feels like too many people get too hung up on doing what's expected of them. Real life is never so black and white, even for situations where one has been clearly wronged. I agree. That was excellent advice, and you're totally right about things not being black and white. Reddit is notorious, in my opinion, for having these really strong right and wrong takes, and life is just so much more complicated than that. I'm a woman, child-free by choice. I've always been so careful with my birth control, and I don't think I would be able to come back from finding out a partner sabotaged it. I also don't know that, in your situation, with children I'm attached to and another on the way, I would be willing to append my life and have them in primary custody of the person who did that. But again, I am not sure I could forgive it. I don't have advice regarding divorce or working it out. I will say that I would consider a vasectomy, particularly if you decide to stay. Even if you are able to forgive it, I don't think you should trust that again. The absolute hell with him considering a vasectomy. She should be the one sterilized, if anything. Why should he be sterilized because he was the victim of sexual assault? Now for the updates. Mini update. I'm going to bed. This entire situation is draining. I realized that I need to talk to my wife about this immediately and can't just leave things in the air. I will also look into getting therapy immediately. Thanks again for your advice. Update. This is a given, but thank you for taking the time to read and respond to the ramblings of my current situation. From giving me advice and telling me to suck it up, thank you. I'm 100% going to couples therapy with Pam and also therapy for myself. She's doing better, not as stressed out as she was before. No, I am not throwing Pam out of the house while she is 5 months pregnant. She's still being a recluse in our room, making me have to do her usual responsibilities. I was able to have a nice outing with my little girls. We saw Moana too. Lol. I guess I'm just here to say that I'm doing fine, and we'll be getting professionals to help us through this. The simple matter of fact is that Pam betrayed me, but I still love her so much. Some people were telling me to DNA test my children, but there have been no signs of any affairs. I don't think I could even handle that kind of news if it were true. Even if we do end up getting divorced, I will never tell our family about what Pam did. She's still the mother of my children, and I don't want my family to think less of her. The same goes for my daughters. I don't want them to think they're the product of something like that, and I especially don't want them to think that I resent them. That's all, I guess. You're being an extremely generous person in this situation. I'm glad you and Pam are doing the work with therapy and trying to bridge this situation. Personally, the fact that your wife is still being a recluse and having you take care of everything at home really grinds my gears. She was the one who wronged you, and somehow she is the one acting like the victim and withdrawing from everything? The shoe really should be on the other foot, and she should be the one giving you space to process everything. I do think that you need to allow yourself to feel the emotions you want to feel. You seem to be doing the guy thing of being very outwardly focused on making sure your girls are taken care of, that the household is continuing to run, and solving problems that come up. I'm concerned you're focusing on everyone else so you don't have to deal with your own emotions, and eventually, you'll hit a boiling point. One small thing Pam does or doesn't do will set you off, and you'll explode on her. Then suddenly, you're the angry man yelling at your wife, and you're the bad guy. Don't put yourself in that position. I agree with all of this. OP, you have to ask, why did she tell you when she did? Why has she closed herself off to you? There are more details to uncover here, so please be prepared for it as best you can. OP, I am a mother to 3, and while I would never do what your wife did, there is also no way in hell I would shut my husband out and force him to do all my jobs as a stay-at-home mom on top of his actual job while I throw myself a pity party for wronging him. I'm imagining her guilt has made her depressed. Not that it makes any of what she did better, but it would explain why she's acting that way now. The way I see it, it's perfectly normal for her to feel bad about it, but I don't like her locking herself in her room and playing the victim. She stays there crying and moping around while you, who were lied to, have to get on with it all. If your wife feels so guilty, she should do something about it. I find it terrible that she plays the victim role. You were hurt by her actions, but you are the one who comforts her. That is wrong. You say couples therapy and that you're going to therapy, but you don't say whether your wife is seeing a therapist. That's an essential part of this. It would be wrong of me to try to say what's going on in her head, but it seems apparent that there's something wrong. The root cause of her desperate action may not have anything to do with you. For example, if a person were afraid of losing their partner, they might do something to try to keep them. But having a fear so big that it could motivate her to do something so life-changing, it seems there's a serious problem there, whether depression or some other issue. You need to start exploring this before she has the baby in order to prepare. Depression is seldom cured by childbirth. Next story. My 38 male wife, 35 female, lost a lot of weight to gain the attention of her work crush. How do I move forward? After we had our kids, my wife gained a lot of weight, about 80 pounds. Honestly, I was fine with it. I thought she was still hot, and my desire for intimacy never waned. For a while, she was fine with her weight too. Fast forward 5 years, and all of a sudden, my wife gets really into fitness and nutrition. She buys a Peloton, goes on a strict diet, and loses all the weight, and then some. She looks like she did when I met her in her early 20s. She looks great, but like I said, I thought she looked great heavy too. Then one day last week, she comes home from work and I can tell something is really bothering her. I ask what's wrong, but she's evasive and distant. This lasts a few days before she finally breaks. She tells me that the reason she was so determined to lose weight was that she wanted attention from a guy at work she has a crush on. She said that all the women have a crush on this guy, and she just wanted his attention. Well, apparently she got too much of it on the day she came home so upset. He had apparently been flirting with my wife for a few weeks, and that day he asked her if she wanted to have dinner with him after work at a restaurant that just so happens to be in a hotel. He heavily implied that they could get a room afterward or even skip the restaurant and just get room service. She tells me that up to this point, it was all just fantasy in her head, but now it was real, and she snapped out of it. She realized that she'd gone way too far. She declined his invitation, of course, and felt she needed to confess what she'd done to me. I was crushed and still am. First, I'm actually upset she told me. I know this is some form of cheating, but I didn't suspect anything. She could have just kept this to herself and not passed her burden on to me. So the thought comes to my mind that maybe she wants me to dump her so she can be with this guy, and that's why she is telling me. So I ask her that, and she breaks down crying. That's not what she wants. She says she loves me and just wanted to be honest with me and apologize. Nothing physical happened, I'm pretty sure of it. I can track her phone and also have a pretty free access to it. She never hides it, leaves it everywhere, and that phone never leaves work. I suppose she could be cheating on her lunch break and leave the phone, but I just don't think she'd leave the phone and not be available for the kids. So I don't think I want a divorce. I love her, and we have kids. But it's just eating at me that she did all the work she did to be attractive for another man. I don't know where to go or even what to ask of her. I just need some advice. You need couples counseling ASAP. Without that, a clear path forward will be tough to find unless something else happens. No, this is over. She has been emotionally cheating for months and was very close to taking it further. This would not be some overnight journey. She has been actively going after the guy's attention and flirting with him for months now. A bit of attention or harmless flirting this is not. This is well beyond that. And the flirting got heavy enough that the guy proposed a hotel hookup with a married woman. Unless she was hiding that she was married from him, which only makes this even worse. This is well beyond getting any couples counseling. He needs to simply get out. There is absolutely no excuse or valid reason for going after another man or woman actively for months at a time and flirting to beat the competition at work. Not to mention, the husband has been nothing but supportive. He continued to love her, said she was still hot, and was only supportive of her weight gain/loss. This is just not acceptable from your wife or husband. Honestly, the main thing that should stick out is that she did all of this to get the attention of another man. She claims she didn't go through with it, but honestly, it sounds like trickle truth. Personally, I don't think I could be with someone who committed so heavily for what I imagine must have been an extended period of time to lose 80 pounds for another man, when the man she had loved her no matter her weight. Think about it. All that time she was focusing on her health, she was really focusing on getting another guy. Don't matter if she went through with it or not. I'm waiting for the update of, turns out my wife actually did go up to his hotel room, and it's only when they moved from foreplay to sex did she realize how wrong it all was. She definitely needs therapy individually to explore what caused that behavior, then couples counseling to work on being a better couple together. If you can't move on after that, at least you tried. Last story. My parents named me after a fantasy TV show character, and it's deeply affected my life. I was born just after the first season of the show. They decided to name me after one of the main characters, but it's not her actual name. Instead, it's her title. It's pretty dumb. I've been bullied and made fun of because of it in school. You can probably guess what it is. It's from a dark fantasy TV show with lots of swords and a big throne. When I was growing up, I liked the name because of how unique it is. I remember a teacher asking me if I was telling the truth when I told her my name when I was about 6-ish. I didn't really understand stuff like that back then. I'm considering getting my name changed, but it feels a little wrong to do so. I do feel like it is my own name, and my parents did name me that. Because of my name, I got into horses and horseback riding. Emulation, I suppose. I am who I am because of it, but the bullying recently is getting to me. Lots of riding jokes. I don't hate my parents or anything, but I did feel angry at them today over it. Now for the comments. Wow, the Khaleesi's are old enough to post on Reddit? Boy, am I old. Recently saw Moana 2, and when the credits started rolling, one of the child voice actors' name is Khaleesi. Oof, my friend named her kid Daenerys before the end of the show. She's probably in middle school by now. I dislike my name too. It's unisex, so very often people who haven't met me assume I'm the opposite gender. My name is more often used as a nickname, so people assume I have a real name other than that. I can't complain to my parents because they said it was a name my late uncle who died when I was 2 suggested. It came from a Beatles song. Many years ago, after the mini-series Roots was shown, there was a couple in my town who named their son Kunta Kinte. Years later, in the personal section of the paper, I saw a public notice that said Kunta Kinte wanted to change his given name to John. I hope his parents didn't do a reverse Roots and whip him for insisting his name is John and not Kunta Kinte. Would have been pretty fun if it changed it to Toby though. This post should be pinned in every baby name sub. Yeah, I feel like some parents don't get the idea of just how impactful a name actually is. It's the child who will actually be called that. Update. Wife of 7 years cheated on me. Now everyone in my circle of friends, her parents and my parents, are suggesting that I should take her back. Original post. I met my wife 10 years ago when we were both in college. We dated for 3 years and have been married for 7. She is a beautiful and amazing person, and everyone in my family loves her. 4 months ago, I found out my wife was having an affair with a mutual friend of ours. It was a 1.5-month affair. During that time, she was acting very shady, ignoring my messages and turning me down every time I tried to initiate sex. I thought something was wrong. I did some snooping but found nothing. Eventually, I hired a PI and within a week, I had proof. She was having an affair with our mutual friend. I immediately confronted her and she confessed. She started crying and begging, basically all the classic cheater moves when they get caught. I asked her for all the details with a detailed timeline. That night, she gave me everything. She had been using another phone for the affair. She told me she had sex with him only 4 times, and that the rest of the time, they were just hanging out and having fun. 3 days later, after more crying and talking badly about herself, she told me she had deleted all contact with him and would do whatever it takes to make our marriage work. She suggested marriage counseling. I refused and told her to leave me alone. I was hurt, betrayed, and humiliated. She moved out to her parents' house. She started texting me every hour saying how much she loves me, how much she regrets this, and that she will do anything to save our marriage. After completely ignoring her for 2 days, I texted her that we were getting a divorce. She freaked out and started having an emotional breakdown. My phone started blowing up with calls from her parents, sister, and friends, all telling me not to end the marriage and at least give her a chance. Later that day, she made a long post on Facebook explaining how she had messed up and how she had destroyed her marriage, basically admitting to her affair publicly. But I was rock solid in my decision. She even insisted on taking a lie detector test to prove that she had never cheated in the past, blah blah blah. I asked her for some time alone to process everything. We have been living separately since. This all happened 4 months ago. Last week, I asked her for a divorce, and she started crying and begging for another chance. After that, she visited my parents and asked them to convince me not to divorce her. Last night, my parents and her parents tried to convince me to work things out. And after she made her Facebook post, almost all of our mutual friends were telling me how brave she was to admit her affair, how much she loves me, and that I should at least give her a chance. I'm on the edge of having a breakdown. She is truly remorseful and regrets this. I can assure you of that. I do love her, and her cheating on me hurts the most. I don't know what to do. Anyone who has reconciled, how are things going? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Your friends and family won't be the ones who get cheated on the next time. If they like her so much, they can have her. Yes, exactly right. Any person who contacts you on her behalf gets a set answer. If you think it's fine for her to be banging her affair partner, you can marry her. She'll be available soon. You owe neither her nor the affair partner anything. Her posting on Facebook was pretty manipulative. Also, she didn't admit to the affair. She got caught, and she's trying to make herself look better by manipulating the story. It sucks to be cheated on, but if both parties don't want to work to try and move past it, the cheater needs to own up to their mistakes and let the other person move on. Being cheated on breaks a huge level of trust that you can't just magically get back with an apology. Exactly this. She decided to get her funds somewhere else instead of working on the marriage and is now regretting it? You caught her. And to cover her own butt, she made a Facebook post to get sympathy from her friends and even talk to your parents. I'm sorry to say OP, but I find this behavior highly manipulative. And for those who think she was brave to admit to the affair and deserves a second chance, tell them exactly what you think of it and ask them to remove the dagger from your back and give it to their own significant other so that in the near future, they themselves know how it might feel to be betrayed by the one they trust. Trust is easily broken, hard to gain, and even harder to regain, sometimes impossible if someone you trust has broken it. Now for the first update. First off, thanks to each and every one of you. The amount of support I received in the last 15 hours was unbelievable. I'm sorry I couldn't reply to your comments and PMs, but I'm trying to answer some common questions. We don't have kids, though we were planning to. We both own a business and work together. I haven't talked to her in almost 3 months, only about business-related matters. After reading all your comments and PMs, I decided to talk to my parents. I called them and told them that I was going forward with the divorce. An hour later, my wife called me crying, begging me not to end it, and asked me to at least meet her in person. Since D-Day, I haven't seen her or talked about the affair. Every time we talked, I ignored any discussion about it. She told me she would explain everything and asked me to at least hear her side of the story. She said that whatever decision I made after hearing her out, she would respect. Since I don't know all the details and don't have much information about the affair, I figured it would be like closure for me. So I've decided to meet her on Sunday. That's it, nothing dramatic. Second update. First, thank you all. I never expected this kind of response. As planned, we met on Sunday. She looked miserable. I hadn't seen her in a while. We talked about our relationship, and I asked her to take down her Facebook post, which she did. I asked her about the affair, why she cheated on me. She told me that she was dumb and selfish at the time. She didn't blame me for the affair. She said they were casually talking, and he started talking about his affairs. She showed me text messages between them, where he was bragging about his fun life outside of marriage. She told me she was curious, and one thing led to another. There were several texts where he was guiding my wife on how to hide the affair. He suggested she buy another phone and always keep it in the car. I took screenshots of everything. She then asked for my forgiveness. I forgave her, but I couldn't move past this. Divorce was my default option from the beginning. She begged me to try marriage counseling. She told me she would never date anyone else ever again, and that if she did, it would be me. I don't really care. We will still work together, as this was our shared dream project. As for our mutual friend, the last I heard was that he and his wife decided to reconcile since kids were involved. I really feel sad for his wife. She doesn't know what kind of monster he is. We are getting divorced. I've decided not to be in a relationship ever again. She told me she was curious, and one thing led to another. God, I freaking hate this excuse. One thing led to another, because she chose that, over and over. Because her response to a cheater wasn't to immediately say, "That's disgusting," and cut contact. She enabled one thing to lead to another. Take time to heal from this, but don't write off relationships altogether just because she turned out to be crappy. Exactly. You don't just trip and land into sex. It's not an accident. Someone had to find time when both of them didn't have work or other plans. She worked with OP, so imagine how hard that would be. She couldn't just say she had to work late because he would know that was a lie. Then where did they do it? A hotel? Who paid for the hotel? How did they hide the missing money from their significant other? Did they travel out of town in case someone they knew saw them? Again, that's even more time that needs to be accounted for. Every single step took active participation and effort, even buying a whole second phone. getting drunk and having a one-time fling would still be an automatic divorce for me, but it would at least be more reasonable. But this was meticulously planned. Divorce is honestly the best option. She acts sorry, but ultimately, you only found out about this because you hired a PI. She had no intention of confessing to you. I'm glad you're not giving her a second chance. Go find someone that can give you respect. I thought the same thing. There's nothing brave about publicly crying over being caught. She would have kept this a secret for as long as possible. One selfish act after another. This post made me laugh. So why did you have the affair? Well, we were talking and the subject of affairs came up, and it just sounded like something I wanted to try. I hope you burst out laughing when she said that. Yeah, how does someone constantly telling you how crappy they are to their wife make you want to sleep with them? I figured in most affairs, you don't actively think about how you are hurting the other person. This dude straight up explained it to her, and she was like, heck yeah, I want to manipulate and hurt my husband like that. Second story. Update. On our anniversary, my wife, 27 female, and I, 27 male, were intimate, and she said another man's name during sex. He's a mutual friend. I'm at a loss. How do I navigate this? Original post. I am in a fight with my wife after an incident during intimacy. For context, we're high school sweethearts and have been married for 6 years. We have a child, 3 male. We've been through a lot together, and I love her deeply. Our marriage is in a rough patch. Our quality time as a couple is struggling. We're in counseling. We're working on making time for each other and reaffirming our bond. That's our current focus in counseling, and we've been assigned intimacy exercises. As part of these exercises, we are making a consistent conscious effort for each other. We had a staycation to celebrate our anniversary while our son spent the weekend at his grandparents'. The trip was largely nice, and we were able to focus on each other better. But then things took a turn. On the night of our anniversary, we were cuddling, and it turned into more. My wife initiated. She was really into it and expressive. And then out of nowhere, she moaned another man's name, someone from our friend group. We stopped immediately. There was no mistaking what she said. She looked stunned before recovering and treating it like a texting typo or something. When I questioned why she'd say another guy's name, let alone a friend's, she swore it meant nothing, and that she was just consumed by what I was doing to her. I couldn't buy it. I don't believe it meant nothing. Not with the passionate way she said it. I believe she was fantasizing about him while being with me. She insisted it wasn't like that and was only a slip of the tongue. I asked why his name in particular. First, she said she didn't know. Then she said maybe it was because she had been replying to his texts earlier in the group chat. When I pushed back, she got defensive. She said I was making something out of nothing and that it didn't need to ruin our anniversary. I told her nothing she was saying was getting through to me and I needed some time. She tried kissing me and initiating again like nothing had happened, but I turned her down. The incident put a damper on the rest of the trip. We haven't been intimate since, and any progress we had made with our exercises has taken a significant step back. Now we're stuck in a cycle of awkward silence, even in front of our son, or she's ignoring the elephant in the room. She's being extra affectionate now, but I can't shake what happened. I never thought twice about their friendship, but now I'm seeing past interactions differently. I love my wife. She and our son mean the world to me. I've been committed to working on our marriage, but I'm at a loss here. I feel my wife isn't being honest and is attempting to rug sweep by pouring on affection. I'm left reconsidering everything. I don't know how to navigate forward. I need outside perspectives. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, if this happened with my partner, the first place my mind would go immediately is that he's having an affair. But being on the outside, while an affair is still on my list of possibilities, I don't think it's the only logical answer. My other logical conclusion isn't pretty either though. But it happens. People fantasize about others. She may just have the hots for this dude, and thinking of him gets her going. She could have been so in her own head picturing him that she got lost in the moment, and it slipped out. For me, this option would still be grounds to take a step back and question a lot. Even thinking about my partner fantasizing about a friend while having sex with me makes me want to throw up. So I 100% understand why this has messed you up so badly. I don't think any response is going to make you feel better, honestly. It happened, and that's going to be a hard one to forget. Man, I wish I had advice, but knowing how this would make me feel, I've got nothing that I believe will make this easier for you. I would absolutely check your phone records to see if they are communicating more than they should be. That would definitely be my first move. Well said. Either way, it's not looking good. I'd be very hurt in the best case scenario. Damn, that's rough to hear, especially since intimacy is the focus in counseling. Let your counselor know you're paying for this assistance. See what tools they can provide to help you navigate this. It's a safe place where you can vent and say everything that's on your mind, even that you're left reconsidering everything. If anything, it'll be good for both of you to see what comes out of it and whether you're both truly willing to find a path forward. Now for the update. Thanks to everyone who reached out. I couldn't reply to everything, but the outside perspectives helped. A general consensus was that my wife and I should tackle this issue in therapy. I knew that's what I should have done, but I delayed. I was too embarrassed. The thought of bringing up what happened in counseling made it worse, but I knew it needed to be done. My wife didn't initially take kindly to it. She was defensive and accused me of throwing her under the bus. I disagreed. I wasn't throwing her under the bus. The truth is, we never arranged topics in therapy beforehand. We argued over each other. Our therapist stepped in as a referee. She called for a timeout for us to recollect ourselves and reflect on the objective, working toward a solution, not attacking each other. Once things cooled down, we were able to actually talk. My wife was asked how she would feel if the roles were reversed. She admitted that if I had said another woman's name while we were having sex, on our anniversary no less, she wouldn't have handled it well at all. She apologized for downplaying my feelings. While I appreciated her acknowledgement, I still felt she wasn't being honest about why she said that guy's name. So I pressed. She said she didn't want to hurt me more than she already had. I told her she was hurting me by lying. She then confessed that during a stint when we weren't intimate, she had engaged in fantasies to satisfy herself. One of them was about our friend. I knew the period she was talking about. Intimacy as a whole has been a struggle, but there was a time when we were completely abstinent. We weren't even sharing a bed then. We'd argue, then retreat to separate rooms, or our son would sleep between us. I asked how long she'd been fantasizing about him. She said it was off and on. He wasn't a constant fantasy, and it wasn't necessarily about him. It was more about the taboo. She swore the fantasies meant nothing, that they were just scenarios to get her there, and nothing she would ever actually want. It was tough, but I tried to hear her out instead of shutting down. Arguing wasn't getting us anywhere either. I can't relate to her on this. She has always been enough for me, even during the bad times. I was always focused on her during intimacy. I told her that while I knew our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were getting to a better place. We had been engaging in various forms of intimacy again. She claims she no longer indulges in those fantasies. I called BS because she did just that, on our anniversary of all days. She insisted his name was only a slip of the tongue because she had been replying to his texts in the group thread that day. She said she was consumed with what I was doing to her, and in the heat of the moment, his name slipped out. When I asked why she didn't tell me all of this after the incident, she said she felt guilty and afraid for our marriage. She said our marriage was already in a state of recovery, and she didn't want to blow everything up over a stupid mistake. She kept saying she doesn't want him or anyone else. She only wants to be with me, and that's the whole reason she's fighting for our marriage. The session was a lot. I was mostly quiet after she finished. She asked me to please say something, but all I could say was that I needed time. I'm still sorting through how I feel. I believe she was more truthful, but it's difficult. I don't see things between her and our friend the same way anymore. I would like to work on my marriage. My wife and our son mean the world to me. I want the best solution for everyone involved. Thank you again to everyone. I appreciate the support. Well, that's the problem with trickle-truthing. There's no way to know when she stops trickling and when she's telling the truth. I didn't do it. I did, but it was just a fantasy. I don't fantasize anymore. I do fantasize, but it doesn't mean I want him. I want him, but won't do anything. I did something on her struggle time, but it was just hanging out. And so on. I think the next thing you need to do is schedule another therapy session and discuss tools for rebuilding trust. At this point, you need to bring up that your trust was shaken because she kept trickle-truthing, and you don't know how to be sure she isn't hiding more from you. You don't want to distrust her, but you don't know how to rebuild. Allow me to be blunt about some uncomfortable truths. Everyone fantasizes. What matters is if and how we act on our fantasies, and whether they impact our real lives. Keep your focus on her behavior, not her fantasies. Trust is similar to reputation. It's hard to rebuild once it's broken, but it can be rebuilt. Trust is always a leap of faith. It's built on small, consistent, reliable behaviors, but at its heart, it's still a leap of faith. Those little voices in your head, OP, the one saying, "But what if she's secretly in love with him? What if she thinks he's sexier than me?" Those voices, nothing your wife says or does will be able to silence them. That's a battle you'll have to fight yourself. Yeah, fantasizing is normal, but not with people we know. If she said Brad Pitt's name, heck, even Goku or something, I would be yeah girl who never. But to say a name from a friend? She may never have cheated physically, but even so, it's not that easy to forget and just move on.